Jonathan.
Hey,
How are you guys doing?
Very nice. How are you doing?
Yeah, I think I'm behaving myself a little bit so far today, so I haven't got caught for anything, so that's good.
mm,
Awesome.
yeah, myself just
Well,
came back from the beach. Actually a beautiful day, and it's wonderful to sit down with you now and have a lovely chat.
mm, well, yeah, sounds like an awesome time at the beach, and I'm happy to be able to talk with you guys today. So I appreciate you inviting me on to the cool things that you guys offer the world.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for your work you're doing for all of us. It's very beautiful. It's very
Mm,
inspiring. You are a very unique person, especially for us. You're very especially offending as well. So I'm always fascinated the way you express your wisdom through your unique angle
mm,
of sarcasm, nurturing humor and simplicity, which is not simple at all, but at the same time is amazingly simple in a sense of being able to gather all knowledge and to help people to see the bigger picture through the real eyes of simplicity. So we never personally with Stefan had met another person, like you, who is able to spread the awakening through the angle of game, which is really amazing because you are able to reach everyone, not only those who are already on the path of the awakening, but also the ones who, the most importantly, just started to unravel all those mysteries around life and around everything. So that's really beautiful. So thank you for having time to join us today. It's really
mm.
inspiring. So
You're welcome. That's a pretty awesome reflection, too. Thank you for that. Those are very graceful words.
yeah, so we would love also to introduce you to our listeners. So Jonathan Sears is a holistic health coach in San Diego. He is one of the amazing people. His one-on-one client practice specializes in holistic emotional healing and resolving self-sabotage issues. Jonathan regularly facilitates classes and workshops nationally and internationally on a variety of inner healing topics, while being widely acclaimed for his heartfelt and dynamic lifestyle. Also, we are just encouraging people to go and to check his YouTube channel, which is really phenomenal. You just can do that by typing in YouTube "Awaken with JP," and here Jonathan encourages healing and growth through his entertainingly informative and inspiring videos. And also, please be sure to subscribe to his also webpage, which is innerawakeningsonline.com. So, okay, Jonathan, maybe we can today just start, all the conversation of ours by tracing the beginning, how everything happened in your life that you have chosen this path that led you to this day. And was there some major event in your life to be occurring that, led you to this current day, the things you are doing, or was there some philosophy that influenced your own philosophy?
Well, that's a good question. There was, for me, there wasn't a major event. And I know it'd be fun to say, I sat down on a park bench one day and a squirrel bit me. And from there, I was kind of whatever, cooler than I thought I was before. But no, my path has been progressive. I'm guessing it will continue to be progressive. I think part of my progressive path, kind of what's motivated me to walk my journey of awakening, was as a child and teenager and young adult, I was pretty shut down and disconnected emotionally. And I think that disconnection, it reached a threshold where I became motivated for connection. And certainly in my early 20s, when that threshold was hit, I didn't really know what I was motivated for or towards. I just knew there was some kind of inspiration flowing through me. So here now, in looking back and assessing present day, I think it was and is motivation for connection, to connect to myself emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And then maybe the last part I'll put on my answer to this lovely question you ask is, even as a kid, humor was always my thing. I was always the class
Hmm.
clown, making people laugh. And I think in my early life, I used the power of laughter for deflection to help me disconnect from my pain and loneliness inside, help other people disconnect from their pain and loneliness. And what seems to be happening from my delusional opinion at least, is now through videos, I use humor to go in the opposite direction, to create connection, not deflection, to help myself and help other people connect with their inner self, whether that's painful, pleasurable, whatever it might be. But anyway, it's just pretty interesting to see how humor has always been a part of my life. Now it's just used actually in a little bit of a paradoxical way than it used to be for me.
And this is kind of how most people that watch your stuff stumble upon you. It's you know, across the humor, the funniness of your videos in the first place, and then you watch them, and all of a sudden you come to go, oh my God, this guy's going a little deeper here as well, you know. And now I'm thinking about this in a way where I'm smiling about it, even though there might be, you know, seemingly too serious of themes to talk in a easy way sometimes to people. And I'm personally impressed with your use of stylistic means and your rhetorical devices. You obviously have at least two shelves of books in your room. I saw that in the videos, and you also have proven that you can read multiple times. So yeah, this I found obviously in your time with yourself where you have made those connections to yourself. That was a very deep one where you were able to put this together in a way that you now, you know, it's really just a play to put this information out to people, one can see how much fun you have doing it, and that
Yeah.
really is what comes across in your videos. Yeah, that humor.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you seeing that, Stefan. And I loved your word play. Absolutely, that is a big part of what the humor videos are for me. They're playful, they're creative, they're artistic. I remember back end of last year when I was filming the first ultra spiritual video. I had no idea it was going to be so well received
Hmm.
by people. So my girlfriend and I, we were filming it, and to me it was just another video coming from a different angle. And I remember saying to her, I am so amused right now. I don't care if anybody ever watches this video. I am having such a good time, and just being playful. And in fact, earlier today, we shot the latest ultra spiritual video, which is how to be an atheist. Just released that, and I enjoyed being able to just laugh when I'm editing it. Nobody else is around, but I'm laughing with it, and that to me is, I have to acknowledge, I do these videos. At least one of the reasons, it's very selfish. They are important to me, not only for my creative expression, but also play. And it's a way that I discover more of my hidden beliefs and my dogmas. It's kind of like JP therapy for me.
Yeah, beautiful. And also, like, humor, what humor means also laughter. Laughter derives from me, to me personally, from two words like slaughter, S plus laughter means slaughter. So you are slaying the secrets and hiding veil with humor. So by humor, we can pierce what is hidden and, to see wider perspective of those things. So it's really beautiful how you do that. So.
Wow, I'm gonna borrow that wisdom from you, Christine. I'll send you royalties. Slaughter. That is a really wise play on those words. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, and also the humor word itself. So we have humor, also two words, you like colors and more. So we have you more adding colors, and also hum like sound vibration and or gold. So just bringing all those colors together in ourselves, projecting our creativity in order to slay that pain, like you usually say about people, how we are carrying those pains, and by that color, by that gold we are just trying to heal ourselves for humor.
Amen to that, sister. I'm showing up, and it's like I'm a student of the lessons you guys are teaching me right now. I love it. And that slaying our pain, I just a little footnote on that. In my opinion, I think we all have those metaphoric dragons inside to slay. And I think a lot of times we start off trying to slay them with force, violence, resistance, trying to change them, make them go away, kill them into something different. And then I think eventually we teach ourselves how to become vulnerable. And we actually slay those dragons through the vulnerable embrace of a hug. I think that's actually what our pain needs most inside, because hell, our pain is painful. And if we punish it more, our pain is just going to get more painful. I think the nutrient vitamin V, vulnerability, I think that teaches us to take a warm, loving approach to our pain, which by definition, it doesn't feel warm and loving inside. But I think those dragons need our compassionate hug
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, those are obvious contradictions, seemingly uh, through our upbringing. Vulnerability as a kid, we're being taught from society that that's something, gotta be strong, you gotta be hard, you gotta resist. And until we find these soft spots, we will conform to a formula. And once we find ourselves there and accept that, that's when we start formulating our own comfort and stop conforming to that formula that has been just dished up.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's kind of like with the wisdom I heard you just said, just an analogy springs to my mind. We've got to get thirsty enough before we're willing to go find the cup of water. So what I heard you say, Stefan, is we all live in a drought of our personal power. And I'm talking about like real, true power, the power from within, not the control stuff that, egotistically we think is power. But when we live in a drought long enough of that, of our true power, because we're subscribing to the formulas of how we're supposed to be big and strong, I think that drought motivates us to quench our thirst from the well deep inside. And man, I honestly think a lot of us got to get pretty darn dehydrated. One of the things that appears to be true in life. I'm delusional as hell, so who knows if it's really true. But I'm going to say it's true so I can pretend like I know what I'm talking about, is pain is the best motivator. So I think the pain of dehydration of our own power is necessary because it's what motivates us to walk unapologetically to the well of our own self to drink.
Yeah, that's it. Just lovely allegories and use of words again. I always have to smile. Uh, the comparisons that you do are hilarious.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and also you talk about how it is important to follow your heart, and we just heard earlier that you were working as a Czech Institute teacher, was involved in spiritual retreats, helping people and traveling around the world until you decided to settle down and start working with people personally for your own creativity. So how hard that was to start follow your heart, and also like you said, like it has to feel very risky when you are following your heart. So how you managed to do those things and start the work you do now. So
yeah, well, I appreciate you asking. And I've been working one-on-one with people for a long time, probably 13 or 14 years at this point. And along that time, I got associated with a lovely holistic health institute in California called the Czech Institute. And from 2006 to 2013, I was on their teaching faculty, and that was like a metaphoric home for me. They became family, and it was lovely. And I can't say how much I grew from that experience and learned. It was wonderful. And then the challenging time for me came when I knew it was time for me to move on. And it was hard to move on because things were good there. I mean, it's easy to move on when things get bad. It's easy to break up, essentially, when the relationship turns sour. Yet when it's good, yet the North Star of our heart says, it's time to move on into deeper pastures of your own self. That was scary, and honestly, I resisted it for at least a year. This is my family. They're also stability. I get to go around teaching for them, but I took a step off the cliff, and there were all the proverbial worries going on inside of me. Financial worries. Am I going to lose out on business? Am I going to not be able to make ends meet, not get enough clients, not be able to fill up my own private workshops anymore? And, those were dragons. And what I hate most about those dragons is certainly what I also love most about those dragons is those scary feelings just needed to be held. They needed to be embraced. So in other words, I had to feel what the hell I was actually feeling. And it was tough. And I can also say that the consequences of following my heart, in this case of stepping away from the metaphoric home of the Czech Institute, it's been a very rich and meaningful experience, allowing me to become more of myself. And I think if I paid attention to my head, I would never leave. I mean, why would you leave a home that's comfortable and it's got everything you need and it's got some luxury? But my heart said otherwise.
Yeah, bravo, bravo. Because of that show, so we just met you because of that decision. So, and also you talk about the rationalization of the things, how we have to work with our heads and with our hearts, uniting them together. You said that rationalization, so we have to face that lie in our lives. So, and also rational, I see it, I, and so just like how I see that word, like to see that God, divinity in rational fractal way to a very core of your own being. So just to rationalize things and to step through that darkness and just not only to go with your heart, because just you have to embrace head and heart together. So yeah, beautiful.
Amen to that. If I could whisper in the ear of my younger self on that note, one of the things I would tell my younger self, which probably means I need to hear it today, is to live a good, meaningful life. Let your heart betray what your head wants. The head, it's important. It's part of the guidance system. Yet I love the play on words there. You mentioned our head is capable of rationalizing lies. And I think what our head wants, especially very literally, our brain stem in our head, it wants self-preservation. It wants comfort. It wants familiarity. It wants to feel safe. And I think our damn heart wants something different. It wants self-realization, not self-preservation. And I think the deeper all of us walk into our unique path of self-realization, we go through many times where we have to be willing to be scared to death in order to actually live to a greater degree, letting ourselves self-realize further. So I think the best we can do is follow our hearts, knowing that at times it'll absolutely violate what our rationalizing mind wants.
Yeah, indeed. And also what's very interesting that we see, many heart problems in our society, people having head and heart attacks, it's also as a consequence of those suppressed feelings, and unrealized potential we have. So because of that energy blockage, when energy again starts to flow, so people and the bodies are not prepared and they can't handle all that. So, and because of that, we get all those diseases and attacks. So what can you just maybe share from your own experience working with people, how you just stepped into those things?
Yeah, working with people, I think it's important when working with people, and for any of us, we need to be the ones that decides when we step into the challenging abyss of our heart. I think our heart wanting self-realization, there's a source of life that flows through our heart that always wants to expand. For me, it's kind of like the 1,000-petal lotus flower that never reaches full blossom because it's infinitely blossoming. And to step into that realm when our heart calls us to move on from something that's been comfortable in life, be it situation, job, relationship, interest, whatever it might be, we need to make sure we're the ones deciding if and when we step, because there's always consequences. If we step into the heart's calling, there's going to be the negative consequence of pain and discomfort to a degree, usually, and the positive consequence of joy and whatever growth comes. Oftentimes it takes a little while for the joy to show up. And then if we don't step, it's we ourselves that need to accept those consequences. So because it's only us who will live through the consequences of our own decisions to honor the servant of the head or honor the gift of the heart, I think we have to make up our own minds. In fact, just briefly, I had a relatively young man in my office yesterday doing some client work with him, and he feels this calling to move away from his family, not to really escape them, but kind of like go on a walkabout, go on, one of his rite of passages where he explores the proverbial world as a way of exploring himself. And he's scared about that. And I made for darn sure not to tell him, you need to do this, because I think that would actually be violating his own personal power and self-will.
Yeah, beautiful answer. And also every time we want to feel something new, we also all the time just facing that fear, and one degree or the other, we just fear is always around those things. So what can you tell about fear, why it always steps into the most important decisions, why we are so afraid to lose things?
Yeah. Well, from my point of view, oftentimes fear is the evidence that we're stepping beyond our ego's zone of control. We're stepping bigger than where our ego wants us to step. We're stepping into something new, something more vulnerable than what we've known before, something greater than what we've known before. And I think the human ego naturally responds to losing a sense of control with the emotion of fear. So by that same token, I think the light side of fear is it can be the best messenger to let us know we're on the right track. And at the same time, I mean, we all know that there's another function of fear where we could just about walk in front of a moving train, and we get afraid, and that keeps us from walking in front of the train. And yes, our fear does keep us out of danger. It can be a sign that says, don't go there. And ironically, it can be a sign that says, go there. The fear comes up. It's helping you move in the right direction, or it's the evidence that you're moving in your heart's direction rather than staying put in your ego's comfort zone. I think the more we allow ourselves to do things that scare us without completely overwhelming us by the fear, I think the better off we are. When we manufacture our lives and control our lives in such a way that we either very rarely get scared, or worse yet, we never get scared, never feel fear, then I would dare say we're stagnating, which is fine. It's just ours to have the awareness to see if and when we are making ourselves stuck, because sometimes what's most obvious is hardest to see.
I have a question about fear. Some people talk about a very deep-rooted fear and a collective trauma that humanity might have experienced. Some say through separation of God, some say through disaster, or however it happened. But this fear supposedly very deep-rooted and affects us individually as well. And that is our. How much do you or would you subscribe to a deeper spiritual research into that?
Yeah, very much so. Uh, uh, what I'm hearing you talk about, Stefan, and which is something I very much value, is fears that come from essentially the collective unconscious of humanity, and albeit perhaps at even a very spiritual level, where our first sense of separation from the creative source from which we came, that was perhaps the root of all roots of our fear. And then it plays out in other ways. There's a reason why many animals, including most humans, even if you didn't know what a snake was, never saw a snake, and one day you come upon a snake, most people will be very frightened by that, because what a snake is, and also what a snake symbolizes, I think that's very real in the collective unconscious of humanity.
Hmm.
And I do believe we are all very breathtakingly intuitive people. We're all in denial of it to a degree. And because we all are very intuitive, I would dare say the experience that people have had through the eons, uh, we have access to that. And I don't think we normally consciously process it, because we'd be overwhelmed by trillions of different informational inputs. Yet I think that's some subtle guiding light we have. If that halfway speaks to your question.
Yeah, I like the intuition part. Interesting word actually, because if you think what else you can pay tuition for, maybe it's not a bad idea to pay that inwards. Um,
And you guys with your wise vocabulary, I gotta start writing all this stuff down.
when we make more
Actually, I am
slides,
taking
they'll pop
notes of
up.
this one. Say that again.
They will pop up. We're making slides all the time on our OpThink page there.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's so much fun, the language. I love it. Yeah, what
Okay,
do you
I've got
pay?
my notes taken. Aha.
Pay intuition inwards.
And heck, well, we're going inwards with the wisdom of words intimacy. I think
Mm,
into me I see. I think intimacy, that's actually a big theme in my life, where
beautiful.
I'm at a kind of a personal healing level. I'm being kind of called to create more and more connections. I mean, like with my girlfriend, deeper connections with her, and connecting just more blatantly to friends, as well as people all over the world, which my YouTube channel really helps me do. And I think part of what that really is for my own personal selfish healing, I need to be connected with people, to be intimate with them. And I think first and foremost, being intimate with someone is, it appears to be being intimate with them, but I think it's really being intimate with ourselves. And we need the reflection of ourselves through the mirror of the other person to kind of get the phenomenon of, kind of like, as I look into your eyes, it's intimacy. Into me I see, based on how I'm reflected back to me through your eyes, through the mirror of your own self. So intimacy, to me, that's big. Into me I see.
Taking notes
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's worth a slide. We'll make that and put your face on it.
Send the royalty checks to JP Sears and
Yeah,
Yeah.
into me I see. Into me I see. Timmy atom, inatomize.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
To the smallest particles of ourselves.
go there.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And also, just I like the quotation you said: "Fearlessness is a place of weakness. It's a courage to be afraid, and one cannot be fearless without being afraid." So again,
Yeah.
those paradoxes everywhere we go.
Absolutely. I think it was Lao Tzu or Confucius, one of those dudes who probably had a long gray beard, said that all truth is paradoxical. And I know that's one human being's opinion, and yet it's an opinion that I really love to play with. All truth is paradoxical. Those who have no fear are the ones who carry the most fear. They're afraid to be afraid, therefore, they have the conscious experience of being fearless because they're actually too scared to encounter their fear. And then the other side of that paradox, those who are actually appearing to be fearful are the ones that carry the least amount of fear. They have the courage to be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I think another thought I love, this one from the Zen dude, Alan Watts, nothing is as it appears. And I think if I just had a little parrot sitting on my shoulder all day long to chirp that message in my ears, I would be saved from so much of my own delusion. Nothing is as it appears, JP. And I mean, I like
Yeah.
my delusion. I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad I don't have that bird, but once in a while, I need that reminder because I get pretty
Yeah.
delusional about my delusions.
Yeah, and also the loneliness part. We had another topic to talk about loneliness, and to be alone it means to be all in one. So alone, all one. So it's, again, so nothing is as it appears. So, and also better be alone than cry because of fear to be alone. And anyway, find yourself being alone afterwards. So fear to face yourself in the mirror because of that. So alone, all one together. So, and many people are
Wow.
feeling that loneliness together, and when they have all the universe inside of them, so it's very hard to
Mm-hmm. And often
realize
the
that.
right, often the people that are, the outgoing people, the party people, they are the most alone, even though they're all around people all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the same paradox. Uh, Call it exoteric, esoteric, what you carry within, you may completely reverse on the outside. Um, and maybe there's a way to, equalize that a little bit.
Yeah. I know I sure do that. The emptiness I carry on the inside, I try and compensate by creating fulfillment on the outside. And I do my best to become aware of it then so that I can actually address the true what's going on inside. But like the example you mentioned, Stefan, actually, that's very literally true for me. When I'm going through times of feeling lonely, I notice I do become more outgoing on the outside. I become way more social. I'm always, talking to friends, going out and doing things with them and
Yeah.
with my girlfriend. And it's like, okay, nothing is as it appears. It appears as though I'm the opposite of lonely because you know what? I'm never alone. And here, the paradox that Christina mentions is perhaps the fact that I am so lonely is what drives me to never be alone. And there was one of these proverbs, I forget which lineage it's attributed to. It's a great proverb that says, the only cure for loneliness is solitude.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm.
And maybe that allows us to have a chance to get a little bit more intimate with the all is one, the oneness and wholeness that we're carrying inside. I think when we're suffering in loneliness, it's actually us being disconnected from that wholeness, that oneness that we carry. And uh, ironically, maybe another paradox is, sometimes the more alone we are, the more connected we can be because we get to be in touch with the
Yeah.
all is one. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, to silence everything and just to hear that point of stillness in yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you present it to the outside, like JP does, you know, I I find it wonderful that you allow yourself a thinking pause, and you prepare every word, it seems, you know, by talking in this motion that you do, pronouncing every word, and if it has to be twice, then so be it. And I really enjoy that. It's kind of almost meditative humor. It's very nice watching it again, yeah. Mm.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I think on that note, there's times where, actually a lot of times, I don't know what I'm going to say until I say it. And kind of to be a little, sound ultra spiritual here for a second, there, there seems to be a flow of words that come through me. And I think what I'll often do is I have to match the speed of my voice to the speed of the words. So if they're coming in at 10 miles an hour, I can't talk at 15 miles an hour. I have to kind of slow down a little bit to 10 miles an hour so that I can, let the words that are coming in just flow through me.
Yeah, unfiltered almost.
Yeah. Almost. I feel on video I filter out more swear words. But anyway.
Great.
Happens, yeah. And maybe just can talk now about the health, of human body, and maybe you just can share your own health habits you would love to share with us, your maybe diets you have or training yoga sessions you may be doing, and the most frequent things people are willing to heal when coming for a help of yours. So what can you share maybe according to human health here?
Yeah, well, some of the health practices that are important to me, it's probably at the top of my list is mindfulness. And actually, some of what we've talked about are keys to my mindfulness. Um, Looking at things and reminding myself nothing is as it seems, uh, being in touch with my feelings. So those sound boring, honestly, because there's no real action behind them. But those are definitely at the top of my list of health practices. And then from there, it's important to me to eat clean, organic food. I don't like to be obsessive compulsive about food where I actually stress myself out about food and actually harm myself through alleged health practices with food. Yeah, with that said, I like to be mindful with my food and eat clean.
Mm.
And let's see, what else? I like to move my body. That feels important to me. And I'll do weight training usually 3 or 4 times a week, and then on other days take walks, bike rides where I need to move myself to, otherwise it just feels like there's energy that gets stuck inside of me. It's like animals in nature. They move, and I think they move for many reasons. One of them being it helps them flush out their energy. I mean, things want to circulate inside of us, and if they don't circulate, they start to get stagnant, swampy, scummy. Mm. Uh, and then, meditation is an important thing for me. And I also, dream work is another important part of my mental, emotional, bodily health.
Hmm.
It's hard to figure out where does the mind end and the body begin kind of thing. And maybe it's just all delusional lines of separation. And then, Christina, you also asked the issues that clients typically come to me with, and there's three main categories. First category that kind of gets people in the door or in the Skype door doing sessions with me is they're self-sabotaging themselves in some way, mentally, emotionally, or for some it expresses behaviorally. Uh, Number two is people are just in blatant physical, or I'm sorry, not physical, but emotional pain, which oddly can manifest physically for sure. So they're in emotional pain. It might be I'm stuck in depression and nothing else has helped. Or I lose my temper too much. I don't know what that's about. Or boy, I seem to just be addicted to anything but happiness. What's going on there? And then thirdly, uh, people looking to resolve their blocks to meaningful connective relationships. And I love work, and then some people come for other reasons, but those are the three main issues that people come with. And I love working with people coming with those variety of issues because I get to learn a lot from them. Every single client I work with, I'm learning from. They're teaching me something. My job is to be mindful and ask myself, what's my version of their issue? It may not be literally the same darn thing, look the same exact way, yet at least at a metaphoric, symbolic level, I'll have my version of their issue. And when I can connect with that, here I am getting to coach a client while they're teaching me things about myself that I didn't know, that I haven't discovered yet. That's pretty exciting to me.
Yeah, beyond doubt. And also we see that we have depression, as very common thing in our society these days. So depression is like depression, like to go away from that, depress and ion again to those smallest particles of ours. So that's very common thing of our society, and people just struggling to go through that depression of their own maybe pain they experience in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that said, I think, because depression is so common, we as a society are used to looking at depression as an enemy. This bad stuff, depression is back. Let's kill it. Here's a pill, or here's something to distract you from your depression. So, in other words, let's kill the depression. And I think that's a huge mistake to try and kill depression. I think depression is a very important messenger that delivers a very sacred message. And it's a loud knock at the door, hence its discomfort. It gets our attention. Yet what is the messenger? What message is the messenger of depression delivering? And Christina, you mentioned, well, it can be delivering the message that you are squashing some of your inner pain, and therefore the parts of you that own that pain are being squashed. And I would also say that other times our depression is squashing, it's pressing down our greatness, our authentic self. And when we are depressing our authentic self or our pain, thank God depression comes. Or else, how would we ever wake up? We need our alarm clocks in the morning. They're obnoxious. We all want to shoot our alarm clocks when we wake up, but it takes that abrupt, uncomfortable stimulation to get us to wake up to something that we're not woken up to currently, at least in my opinion. And with that said, I love seeing people who are beginning to look at their depression with reverence, looking at it as a teacher. I think it is a sacred gift. Hurts like hell, sucks, yet a sacred gift delivering a message.
Yeah. What me helped here was again the word side of it, the language side of it, depression, where you obviously want to depress something that has been squashed down, as you said, and what happens there when you depress your aura or the space that you fill out becomes much bigger, and you now feel much smaller and want to grow into that space, not only spiritually but also bodily. And that's a good point that you made. That workout actually, where you sweat out and get the heart going, actually gets rid of the stress hormone, which is called cortisol. And if you look at that word, cortisol, that's the heart, cord, and soul is the sun. So maybe there is too much light because of your inner alchemy work in your heart, and it now wants to expand. And by being that active, you actually let that light out through your pores and can now spiritually grow into that open, depressed space. And then that's the end of the depression, but this bubble will burst and you'll grow into another one. So this is just going on and on. Keep running.
That's another awesome note I just took, by the way. And you know, Stefan, I loved how you mentioned one of the nuances of that lovely avalanche of wisdom that I heard was we can actually have the experience of too much light. And I think that's a lot of times we pretend like that's not possible. Light is a good thing. More is better. And actually, I think in a way that's one of the main kind of archetypical themes or archetypal themes that I like to play out in the Ultra Spiritual series. That a lot of times we do blind ourselves with too much light, and actually, I think a illustration of your point, I'm very fair-skinned. If I'm out in the outside right now, it's very warm here. If I'm outside for much more than 15 minutes in direct sunlight, it's too much for me. It actually does hurt me. And then we said, well, what else is there? And I said, oh, how about the shadows? So there we have the shadow work where a lot of our self lies, our quote unquote undiscovered self oftentimes lives in our shadows. So I think sometimes kind of like, well, how do we know what too much light is for us? But I would guess when the light starts hurting us, it means we're using the light as a way of escaping ourselves. So anyway, I'm getting amused by all of our collective thoughts here. You guys are getting me excited.
Yeah, beautiful. And also shadow is like also just sounds to me like shy, being of shy or something like that, because you're shy of seeing that dark side of yourself, which also is a lesson of yourself. And also I like how you talked about the shame, how the shame is supposedly the lowest energy frequency which we can experience. And because even the fear is, if we will look at this as a scale, fear is higher because, we are afraid of something, but we are afraid of nothing. But also when we are claiming that we are in shame of something, we're saying that we are nothing. So we're just equalizing with that nothing. We just completely are disconnecting from ourselves and going into that shadow, which is like shadow. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, it is. I think a lot of times we look at our shadow, and I have to catch myself with this from time to time. We look at our shadow like all the things that are in there are bad. There's sometimes a lot of just implied unconscious judgment about our shadows, and I like to define our shadow self as essentially being comprised of what we don't know about ourselves, period. Some of that would certainly be our shames, our fears, our sadness, pain that's been so immense that we haven't had the capacity to even feel it. So it's numbed out, it's unconscious. So if it truly is our shadow, what we don't know about ourselves, I think with great respect, I would say a lot of our greatness is in our shadow. Not just our wounded parts, which I think are in fact seeds of our greatness. So not just shame and yuckiness, but I think our great ambitious authenticity, a lot of that is in our shadow. That's why I think the idea of be careful what the warning signs are of when you've had too much light. that can be the nature's way of saying, it's time for you to spend some time in your shadow, discovering what's there. You need some darkness therapy here because you've got some of you in the darkness. Maybe, says the wisdom of nature.
Yeah, very beautiful said. Beautiful. Another thing I just enjoyed, I just made some notes when you said that being in fear, being in that instant minute of the fear, we are inhaling the breath, we are not exhaling the breath, and we're just taking that inside. And also inhaling comes from word helios, like sun. So we're just inhaling, freezing that helios against darkness in ourselves, just to be able to be strong enough to fight that darkness. So that's very interesting, why we are not exhaling but inhaling and holding that breath while facing that shadow, while facing that fear of ourselves. So interesting.
Yeah, I would think so. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, I'm going to class here with you guys. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, it's just so much fun, you know, to kind of kick back. It's more like sitting on a couch with a cup of tea, we like to say, and just kind of exchange our wisdom.
Yeah.
And that way come together with all the ideas. I mean, that's what has to happen. That's what we want to happen. Um,
Yeah, like you
so
Stefan
it's
said today, sitting on couch with couch.
oh yeah, couch. We're sitting on a couch with a coach. How come that couch and coach sound so similar, JP?
Well, that's a good question. Looking at it symbolically, I wouldn't be surprised if support is what they have in common. How a couch, symbolically for me, represents support. It's something you can sit on, lean on, depend on, and it's there supporting you.
Yes.
And I think a coach does that. One of the functions of a coach. And I think a good coach is someone who teaches us how to become our own coach, and therefore how to become our own couch, so we're not forever codependently leaning on the couch of our coach.
Yeah, beautiful. And when we are just tracing the spiritual movements of modern, society, we have New Age and other delusional movements. So what they do, they just like taking people and not giving them the opportunity to follow their own, like you say, just their own way and etc. So it's very interesting. And we just, by looking at new, philosophy, we just can just look at that. If it gives us the opportunity to go our own way, just we can learn from that and go our own way. That's the way we can just choose, if our heart does that. So that's very interesting how you do that, and you inspiring all the people just to go and just start your own work all the time.
Yeah. And I believe whatever we get into, whether it's okay, I'm into the new age stuff, or no, I'm into just getting into my own work now. I think whatever we get into will be well served if we allow our future self to pull us out of this realm of work sometime in the future. It's kind of like, I think when we're growing as kids, uh, we have a pair of pants when we're 5, and they're not going to fit us when we're 7. So if we step into the New Age movement, it's great. I think it's wonderful. But do we allow ourselves to take those pants off so that we can step into bigger pants? Or are we 10 years old, stuck in the pants that were the perfect fit for us when we were 5? So I think our human heart and soul will never stop growing. I think what works for us today, what's perfect for us today, we need to betray eventually, or else what works for us today will bind us sooner or later. So I love the idea of listening to all my own philosophies, realizing they're going to be wrong for me one day. And that's a great time to celebrate those things. And I think just the ultra spiritual video series theme, I think one of the big underlying messages is a question that says, hey, viewers, here's a pair of pants. I'm going to demonstrate through a given topical theme. Are these pants you wear? And are they too small for you right now? Have you outgrown them, but you haven't taken them off yet? If so, here's a video. It's going to be a mirror. Please just notice if you're wearing the pants. And you can do with that what you want. But if they're not a pair of pants that you're wearing, you don't wear them, that's great. Or, yeah, I am wearing them, but I haven't outgrown them yet. I'm still growing into them. Wonderful. Keep wearing them. So to me, that's a big theme of the Ultra Spiritual series.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how in my family, for example, is just an allegory. I am just from a huge family of 4 children. And I remember how parents just were buying our clothes, bigger than our size all the time, just in order for us to grow. So it's also an allegory, the same as in life. So wearing some huge, clothes in order to be able to someday just grow in them, so they can fit for a longer time of period. So just you could learn all the messages in them, all the learnings in them. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the life plays a little trick on us. I think it's intended to get us to look inward. But, when we're 15, 18 years old, we kind of stop growing physically. We don't have to buy new pants and new clothes every year or two. So we stop getting reminded that we're growing. As a kid, we know we're growing. Yeah, those are my baby clothes. They don't fit me anymore. So once we stop physically growing, unfortunately, I think a lot of times that makes us think that, mind, body, soul, values, what works for us, that we stop growing there. So I think life has it that way because that kind of growth, of course, it's not happening out here with our bodies. It's happening inside. So though our clothes may still fit from when we were 18 years old, I think a lot of stuff we wear doesn't.
Yeah, indeed. And also those movements we were just talking about, it's very important to hold that middle ground, but because we had just also talked about the head and the heart, as I see that new age and all those movements, they are more focusing in that heart side only, they're just like, I'm just attracting things, I'm only thinking, I'm only making that intuition thing, but I'm just completely forgetting that all, logical thinking. And on the other hand, we have science, we have all the society, which is logically based, so we also have the lack of the heart, so we just have to unite all them together. It's very interesting and beautiful how you do that through humor, uniting those things, because you just have to be in that middle in order to experience all what you are.
Yeah. Funny how that works. And, I know some of my bumps and bruises from life teach me, yeah, I needed to experience both extremes to even have half a clue where that middle is, where the balance is. And I definitely still fall off the tightrope, that middle place of beautiful stillness, balance. I still fall off of it. Sometimes I get a little extreme one way or the other. Probably not as extreme as I used to, but still, sometimes I'm trapped in my head, overthinking, analyzing, getting very analyzing about things. And other times, yeah, I get pretty ungrounded. And I'm making decisions purely based on intuition and my heart. And while that might be great, I think my head's over here saying, hey, I need to understand some stuff, or else I'm just going to be scared poopless as we go forward into, this cliff that you're intuiting we should just jump off of. I can't see the bottom. And I think, I don't know if we'll ever be balanced. I think to say we're balanced means we're buying into the illusion of time. We're saying it past tense, like, oh, I was balanced and therefore I always will be. I think the present tense of balancing is the best we can do. And I think the paradox of balancing is we're never actually in balance. It's always an art of adjusting our center of gravity. You know, someone who appears to be perfectly balanced, like a great surfer riding a wave beautifully, they appear to be balanced. But I think the deal is they're balancing. And as they get out of balance, they don't go to the extremes. They get a few millimeters off center rather than a few meters off center. So that their infinite dance of balancing, it just appears more balanced to our delusional eyes. So I like the idea of reminding myself I'm always balancing. I'm always falling to a degree towards the extremes. The question is, am I going a millimeter in that direction or a meter in that direction?
Mm-hmm.
Usually for me, it's a meter.
I believe that's called the infinitive, right?
I have no
Of
idea, but
balance.
it sounds like it would be appropriate.
The ing, yeah, I guess it would be the infinitive of balance, the ongoing, ever ongoing.
Yeah. Also, the word meditation is like to meet it at 8, you know, and also 8 in our math everywhere we have that 8 means like eternity, so the symbol for eternity. So you just middling everything in that 8, and you also just flowing in that 8 symbol all the time. Just in this case, eternity comes as one moment, and time and space collapses in that one moment for yourself. So maybe what can you share about the time, what time means for you? And you know, because in our society, for example, we like always noticing the clock like 1 1 or 12 12 all the time, so just shows how time runs for us very quickly or very slowly. Just for me, just shows that time doesn't exist at all. Just it's only our perspective to that time. So what can you maybe share there?
Yeah, well, I agree with that, and I would say the more I get wrapped up into time, where inevitably I always have more to do than can fit in a given period of time. It's all delusional. So the more I get enveloped in time, the more stressed I get. And I think one of Eckhart Tolle's audio programs, probably his books too, have the present the idea of, yeah, pay attention to clock time when you need to, while you are present. So it's kind of like, in a way, respecting the illusion of time so you can be practical. You know, meet people when you say you're going to meet people, or in my case, be at least close to on time. And at the same time, keep our presence as in the now as possible. So when we look at the clock, can we stand in a place of presence rather than getting swamped into the mud puddle of the illusion of time? And I think another Eckhart Tolle theme is be the observer. If we can observe the clock rather than become the first person participant of the clock, then I think we can have the best of both worlds, still wear a watch while not becoming a slave to the watch. And, you know, like it's so many meaningful things. That's all very easy to do. And for me, it's a very challenging practice that by no means am I a black belt. And in fact, I don't even know if I have a belt. I don't even know if I've got pants with that practice. But anyway, it's still a challenge for me.
Yes, Beyond Beautiful just brought me one download just a few seconds ago. Like you just were talking about clock, and clock just to me is like C, like the letter C, and lock, just to lock that spirit of yours into that clock in order just to not be free from that clock, not be free from that time. So you just have to unlock that your spirit from that lock and not look into that circle. Just step out from that. That was Unbelievable. Thank
Wow,
you for that.
that is amazing insight, and along with that, I think it was Ram Dass who said, "You can't get out of jail until you know you're in one." So that C lock, the clock that you mentioned, see the lock. We got to see the lock before we can get out of the chains that have us bound. Um, it's a great insight.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful.
And even going, then when you get out with the get out a card for free or whatever you see, uh, go in. That's right there as well. Just stumbled over that. Go in G.
Mm,
Seventh
I,
letter.
Hmm. Again,
Beautiful.
balance, gravity.
Mm. Beginning G and then G. Go in. Keep
life,
going.
life comes full circle with the word going. I like
Yeah.
that.
Wow. Yes. Sweet.
Yeah.
That would be the 69, would be the yin and yang, Cancer.
Mhm.
Here we go.
Mm, mm.
Lovely synchronicity downloads with JP.
Yeah, and the other thing I just also just was very curious to ask, about your long hair, because you earlier said that earlier you didn't have, long hair, maybe what can you share about its spirituality and energy forgotten sequence? Because we know how our ancestors, they had long hairs, and how that was related to the nervous system and so on. So how that is related in your personal experience, and what can you share about long hair issue?
That's a good question. On a daily basis, like I never sit here and say, "Boy, I feel tapped in with my long hair." Yeah, the theory of it, I've read that, and it's really cool how our hair can actually be antenna, and it makes sense to me. I started growing my hair long in 2010, and there were definitely powerful, growthful transitions I was going through then. And then at a conscious level, for me, what growing my hair represented was becoming more of my own person. I had never had long hair before, never thought I would, and always thought guys with long hairs, boy, they look like dorks or whatever. So it represented me becoming a newer version of myself, and I would dare say my ability to be sensitive and in tune. It was shifting, or taking on a shift at that time. So yeah, I wonder, were they happening simultaneously? The shift in the hair, were they complementing each other? Was one dependent on the other? I'm not sure yet. It's a wonderful curiosity.
Yeah, it's also very beautiful how you are just by this you are embracing that feminine side and also masculine side together, just like
Mm.
again reaching the balance. Beautiful.
Yeah, I like that too.
Hmm. And before, when you said consequence, I almost jumped in then. A beautiful word as well. Those two sequences that are with each other but also against
Mhm.
each other. Yes, the sine and the
Uh-huh.
cosine. Those waves against each other. That is the consequence that comes with every move that you make, and just the awareness about that. Um, Sometimes you can then choose the lower. The lower on these knot points when they meet. You can then go up or down.
Mm.
It's kind of funny games.
Absolutely. And that up and down with the cosine you mentioned, there apparently in this relative world, based on what I've seen, any choice or anything we do in life, it will have both the up and the down of the consequence, the positive and the negative. And for us to make a choice, I think means we're stepping into both. one follows the other or they arrive relatively simultaneously. It's pretty interesting to look at.
Once you pay attention to that, you can actually feel when you come to these knot points, maybe with the help of astrology and your personal kind of planetary alignment there. And then you actually feel if you sometimes when you get either pushed up or pushed down in that moment, and then quite know that, okay, I took that lower route this time, so I'm just gonna sit this out here and learn from it. Oh, learn is another one. Earn godliness. El, so Elohim godliness.
Ah,
That is when you learn you.
there's another. I'm running out of ink here, and just so you guys know, I'm writing with a purple pen, so that's how damn
Ooh,
spiritual I am.
Spiritual chakra, yeah.
that is
Yeah,
ultra
and
violet.
I hit. Absolutely, it is, and I'm also spiritual enough that I had to tell you guys that. It's very humble of me.
Very humble.
Thank you for noticing, Stefan. That's great of you.
Anytime, JP.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, another just subject I also wanted to touch is freedom, in our society. And I just read one of your articles, and you just said that as we find our new home in new free world, what if we realize that even our apparent freedom becomes a new form of slavery? So our dreams, usually if looked under the surface, are not the dreams at all. They are just compensatory things we are lacking in our life. So we dream about them to gain them, and that is a part of a slavery. And how it is to be in conscious awareness of our dreams, how to dream or how to not dream at all. So why instead of what? So interesting topic.
It is. With freedom, we all know like the caterpillar and the butterfly analogy. Yet, what happens before the caterpillar was there? Once upon a time, the butterfly that was the caterpillar was there, a slimy bundle of larvae, I think is what caterpillars were before they were caterpillars. And in that consciousness of the larva, it found a new great freedom as it transitioned into being the caterpillar. And that was a great freedom. And then the time came when the freedom of the caterpillar was too confining. That freedom in and of itself eventually became a prison for that consciousness enveloped in the caterpillar. So it found a way to outgrow that freedom, and it transitions into the butterfly. And it's a great amount of freedom. And then the time comes when eventually the freedom of the butterfly becomes its prison, and the butterfly transitions into its next life. It leaves its butterfly body and, I would hypothesize, goes elsewhere, somewhere bigger. So yeah, I think what the human ego, especially what our human egos define as freedom, will either become eventually a prison or will be a prison right away. And I think that what makes it potentially a prison right away is when our ego becomes the source of our dream. My dream is have $1 million. That'll make me feel really free. Then we get $1 million, and our $1 million becomes our prison. All of a sudden, we're a slave to our money. So the newfound freedom actually carries no vibration of freedom. It carries the vibration of entrapment. Because I think if it's, when we notice our dream and ask, as you were pointing out, Christina, we notice our dream and ask, what part of me is dreaming this dream? Is it coming from my authentic self? Well, maybe. Then it's taking us in the direction of going from the caterpillar to the butterfly, like a new legitimate freedom that'll serve us well for a while. But if the dreamer that's dreaming the dream is a part of my ego looking to compensate for how insignificant it feels through the significance of this manufactured dream of freedom, and there's a decent chance that if and when that manifests, it'll be an opportunity for us to realize the prison that we've already constructed inside, and we've just now constructed a prison on the outside to get us to wake up to the prison on the inside that we probably bound ourselves in a long time ago.
Yeah, and also the word prison is like pre and sun. So just to be previous before that sun, so just to again have to go through that, and in order to embrace your sun and to step, as you said, from that one stage of butterfly to the other, and just to grow eternally from that prison of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, well said. If I had secrets to keep from you guys, I would just sit here and not talk. Because you guys are like conscious detectives. You listen to a few words, and I love watching and listening to how you guys pull this great vertical depth from these little horizontal words.
Well, thank you, but this inner work just comes through the experience and exchange with our guests and with the research that we do. That comes from the outside, goes inside, gets worked through, and then with your help in a show like this, we can explore this together from the different angles that
Yeah.
all these different angles that are there to look at things.
Yeah, another angle of humor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very fun just to look at the words, how everything is connected in all the language, because the language itself is the opportunity for us to express ourselves, just like you say, connect with people. It's the same in a language and everything. So just like another funny way to investigate in nature.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how your message there, Christina. Language is a way for us to connect, and connection, intimacy being a big theme in my life I'm working on. I've been finding it more and more beneficial to be mindful of the artistic nuances of the words I say, the vertical dimension of the words I say, because there is great potential for connection through that language. Being able to express something sensitively, acknowledging the vertical depth, intending the vertical depth. There's great connection offered. And then I think great connection is there to potentially be received as well. Listen to what someone says, but hear the vertical dimension that they don't say, but it's there in the words. So I think if we hear what they're really saying, we are afforded to receive a great connection. And hell, when we just add a simple little T to the end of the word here, I think we have our heart that we're actually receiving the connection with.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can listen or we can hear. All seems like similar things, but they are completely different. Like, yeah. Like look and the see, so just the same.
And listen being the anagram of silent. Yeah, the language really is the connecting part, and the courage to be playful with that is, even though it says core age, the heart ages and learns. It 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 is the playfulness, the being a kid, a child that gets you to expand the receiver, so to speak, of those downloads. And then you can say, language is the land gauge between the different sees or ways of seeing things. The verbal or vertical, like you said, connector between the seas and experience to
Mm.
exit the pier and see to go and see, then you need a land gauge to kind of connect the different waters and ideas and spirits there.
Mm. And I love the connecting the waters. To me, the waters, the sea, what's under the water, that whole sea, for me, that represents a lot of our unconscious. And I think that, at least to me, that's a lot of what I'm looking to connect to in myself and other people. And so I love how you point out connecting the two C's.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Very nice energy. Oh well, hey, we're getting. I think let's look here. Getting close to time out here for us, I believe. Um, I would reestablish that this was a wonderful time with you.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
so thankful and really, really happy that this happened. I think the most funny show in a way that we had, and I can't wait for part 2 maybe coming up in some time
Mm.
when we have recollected from this wonderful event.
Well, I'm looking forward to part 2 as well. I've had an absolute blast talking with both you lovely people, and also honored that you guys, amongst the other things you're doing, serving as a bridge to allow some connection to happen between myself and your lovely listeners. So thank you guys for being a catalyst of connection in my life and wonderful, mindful conversation. I'm walking away from this having had a great experience and learned a lot, and honestly, just had a good damn time with you guys.
Thank you. You're awesome.
Mirror, mirror, same here.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay. Until then, and yeah, hear from you soon. Bye bye.
Sounds great, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
We all want to see, we all want to be real, and we're searching when we're finding. We all want to feel the taste of belief, and we search for directions where we meet with our fears. We all want to steer, we want to appear, even in the highest battle, face the unreal. Do you feel the grace of fear? There is no need to disappear. Just stay here and get clear. Of fear, there is no need to disappear. Just stay here